Thank you, and it's a privilege to be a part of this brainstorming discussion, especially on how to look at, looking into the future, how it's going to unfold. And starting where we are and looking at what are the requirements of the skill sets in the industrial revolution, the fourth revolution that we are witnessing. It's good to look back into the other revolutions which has happened earlier. The first, of course, was where, morning, I couldn't, we heard the captivating speech from Beena Madam, and I couldn't agree with her more. It has always been happening from a manual side, and the first revolution happened when it was steam-powered. Can we even imagine, today when we are talking about all of the different technologies, it was steam-powered. And then came the electricity, and then came the initial part of the technology. And if you look at the timing of each of these revolutions, it has been like probably the 1800s to where we stand today. We have seen the two revolutions, which when we talk about, the new change which is happening, it's always about the disruptive innovation part of it. And we should consider ourselves privileged to be a part of this particular time frame where this disruption is happening, and it doesn't happen all the time, right? In 200 years, this is the fourth time probably, and in this fourth has happened very, very quickly compared to the other two. And that also shows the responsibility we have on our shoulders in terms of what we need to plan for the future. That's where today as a generation, when we are speaking about probably, most of us, when we talk about unlearning, what we also should be doing is what can we actively do to make this unlearning much lesser, and compared to what we learn is going to be future ready. And that's where, as we speak, it's very important right from the foundational, the curriculum, the education that we are talking about onwards should be future ready. And that's one part I want to keep in front of all of you. And being a founder and entrepreneur in this space, in the banking and the finance space, which for the last 6 years, I can very well tell you, we crafted one of the value systems for our company. When we had the vision, mission, and the value statements we put very carefully: hustlers, never settle, then curious learners, and authentic self. And this was from experience, because when we started looking at disrupting, or rather making a change in the entire space, where what we do is we craft a solution for small businesses which can be a default operating system to run their business. When I talk about default operating system, this also came from the fact that historically when we are doing business, payments happen in the banking system. And that, again, with technology coming in, a lot of things, layers got added on top of it, be it UPI, the entire India stack, on the payment stack which we have created in India, world class, the world's best, I would say. So that and the inclusion from a digital inclusion, wherein right from the internet penetration to the internet infrastructure, everything that we have seen for a billion people economy that we see, how much of a penetration we were able to achieve. All this put together put us in a position wherein the legacy systems, the infrastructure that we have been used to in banking is not keeping pace, is not able to keep pace with the requirements of the businesses, be it. And when it comes to small businesses, we have seen the access to that becomes even more complex, because that becomes extremely expensive affair. One, to get the skills, and to deploy, and even to get access to the new age digital wave that is happening. So this made us come to how do we solve this problem for this vast majority of 75-80 million SMEs that exist in India, make their life simpler so that an entrepreneur can focus on their day-to-day doing business activity, which is where the customer interaction, how to craft better products for them, can be the first point of thought, and not how to run my business, including the governmental and the regulations which are there, which is where we decided to bring in technology. Now, the challenge was, when you talk about newer technologies, one, there is a legacy infrastructure which we need to deal with, and second, there are newer and newer skill sets and different ways in which you have to solve if you are looking at a disruptive innovation. And that's where we found this challenge of where do you get the talent from? And that's where most of the time we have deployed things like the best, which has even worked out for us in terms of either from technology or even from the skill set side, is where we made people, took right from freshers to people who have been in this phase of digitization, and then started, giving them on-the-job training, or giving them, upskilling and reskilling in terms of what they have to do on the job in a specific direction. Because what's also used to happen is that since we are at the cusp of banking and disrupting the banking part of it, there is a strange need of very deep understanding of the subject matter of how it is happening today, and then that not getting biased with that, but moving forward into how the future should look like. Which is where not everyone could have that ability of switching over from the traditional to the new. Probably, that includes even us, for that matter. I'm not excluding anybody in the company. And that's where we felt that curious learning part, never settler attitude and aptitude. And that's something which we have to foundationally put it right from the preliminary education onwards, which also points to a bigger change in the entire economy that we will see the way we work. It could be, today we call about the gig economy, but what I'm mentioning is maybe we are looking at days wherein you might not be working on one problem or one company continuously. The whole thing of this employment could even go away. Which is where more and more entrepreneurs should be, the entrepreneurial thinking, which is what hustling and never settle kind of attitude should be inculcated, than just getting tuned for, you just learn for getting a certain job, right? Which is where, to what Kailash also was just mentioning, if a GPT comes and takes away 200 jobs, it's not like, yes, of course, that the question there is which job is being taken. And is there going to be a displacement, or it's going to be like shrinkage of job? So the fact is that if 200 jobs in a company is taken, or in a company is taken, from where else this is being pushed into? And that's where the entire revolution is an ecosystem we should look at. And that's why when we look at banking also, we never believe that bank will just vanish, regulations will just vanish. And what we are doing is a very collaborative approach with the legacy banking system. If we are in a position to, can we actually bring in a middleware which interacts with the customer, which is powered with the new age technologies and solutions, which is where the different skill set would be required, interact with the traditional trust building and the incumbent, and there is a central regulator, and then can you actually interact even globally? So that's how we are thinking about the way in which we disrupt, and this is going to happen in every industry. We will see jobs or the current streams that we are skilling the youth. Those jobs might not even exist. Then we have to actually channelize the youth right from the beginning, both in terms of aptitude, interaction, and then comes the skill set in terms of how we are going to reskill or even skill them in the right way for being future ready. That would be something which I want to put in front of everyone.